Hi friends, I hope you're doing really well. This is Tracy Brown, and my team and I of non-diet dietitians provide nutrition counseling for you to feel safe in your body and to become your own food and body and health expert. So this series this week is I don't know if it's going to be controversial. I don't know if it's going to be upsetting. I don't know if I'm going to offend people or hurt people's feelings. So I'm just going to start right off the bat by saying, I know the impact of what we say is really, really important. And so that's why I'm going to be very nuanced about everything I say in terms of the idea of feeling addicted to food, because a lot of people have a lived experience. It feels like you're doing things you don't want to be doing, and you don't know how to stop it. And the only way you've been, with air quotes, successful at stopping some feelings or some behaviors that feel compulsive is because, the way you feel you can be successful at containing that is when you have basically a program or somebody telling you what to do, or avoiding said foods altogether. And I remember when I was in that position 20 something years ago, that it would have been a hard sell unless you would have educated me on the idea that the reason I'm eating a bag of Twizzlers at one sitting, or even to the point of feeling kind of nauseous, or a whole roll of cookie dough to the point of being nauseous. If somebody would have told me that it wasn't the behavior so much, and it wasn't my lack of character that was the issue, it was my lack of care, and how I thought about myself and my needs were actually the issue. So the reality is, with my eating back 20 something years ago, it was all based on one, deprivation of getting my basic needs met, like eating enough through the day, having enough joy, having enough safe, healthy people in my life and connection, thinking that my needs were important to get met, and just basically, I was busy recapitulating with food all the ways in which I thought I wasn't good enough or worth enough, or I was too much of a burden or too much. And so I spent my life performing, which means that it crowded out the time I needed in my life to sleep enough and to move appropriately, not too much or too little, to eat in a way that all my meals, for the most part, had a variety of foods and food groups in it, and enough of it. And also acknowledging, I think I'm somebody who's going to be a dessert eater. Maybe, definitely once, if not twice a day, and accepting that and challenging who says I can't eat that way with everything else, right? And so I'm saying all that is because I know when you're in that circumstance of feeling like you're addicted to certain foods or behaviors, that it's something broken in you. And I'm going to read you something here, and I hope that makes some sense to you about what maybe is going on for you in your life. And then I do expect when people watch these videos is that you listen to it again, you take some notes, and really let yourself be challenged by the things I'm saying, because long-term, anything that you have to do long-term that's not embodied is basically another program. All right, what I mean by that is, if you have to follow a program, and if you can't follow it exactly, you feel like you've messed up and you have to start all over again. It's symptom maintenance and management and a Band-Aid. It's not like, wow, I've embodied recovery. I don't even do this. I don't even have these thoughts anymore. And that's what we're really working towards here, is a true, I can feel my feelings. I know how to get my needs met. I know when to push more and also hold back. And, food can be enjoyable, and connection and creativity. But I also know that food doesn't meet every single need, and it can't in totality. So you just once we get to that place where it's all these other needs in our lives are getting met, and we stopped coming into agreement with the negative old narrative that your needs are too much and your feelings are too much and all that. Once that stops, when you stop agreeing with that, you're going to start to find you know what, I am going to make time for this breakfast with maybe multiple food groups in the morning, because that makes me feel better, not because I'm trying to be healthy. And overall, when you start eating in that way, you actually have more nutrients in your system. And you don't have to manufacture all these food rules and continue to look to gurus to tell you that you're doing your nutrition right. So let me read this for you. And I have some notes here I wrote. And this is from some teaching from Gina Fisher. She's a very well-known trauma specialist. And she knows something. She knows a thing or two about like behaviors being a faux form of trying to reach for safety, a false way of trying to get some regulation. All right, so let me read this to you. So dissociative symptoms and compulsive obsessive behaviors, and I would add in their thoughts, are ingenious ways of altering our consciousness and changing our physical and psychological experience. Thus, any dependency could be viewed as just another, with air quotes, attempt at self-regulation. Not so terribly different from self-injury or any type of other trauma-related impulsive behavior. In this way of thinking about, obsessions and compulsions, let's say with food or exercise. And when I say that, I mean like obsessive thinking about calories, chronically trying to be on a diet, chronically telling yourself you're addicted to food or sugar or whatever it is. These are just strategies, basically, to deal with too much or not enough in our neurobiology around care, and to deal with the hurts that never got repair. Okay, so this is the way we're kind of dealing with ruptures, in safe relationship. We can call it whatever we want: developmental trauma, complex PTSD. We can call it whatever we want to, but this isn't how those experiences impact our relationship with food. Okay, so if we kind of use this thought process, we were deciding that there's like maybe two assumptions to make about our experience. The first one is we're assuming that any kind of obsessive or compulsive thoughts or behavior are a survival strategy, a way to numb, wall off intrusive memory, self-soothe, increase hypervigilance, combat depression, or help us dissociate. We'll call it the autopilot process of it occurs from the fact that these behaviors or thoughts, you have to continue to do it to try to get the same dissociation, the same hypervigilance, whatever. Okay, so if you do a thing, and I have this is the way I felt in my own personal experience. When I started dieting, at first I'm like, oh, this is kind of weird. I'm really hungry and this is kind of terrible. And I kind of feel bad about this because it makes me kind of feel self-absorbed. But then the longer I did it, actually, the less bad I felt about it. And before long, all I felt was relief from the original distressing emotions that made me want to go on a diet in the first place. Okay. And we could say like maybe not diet, maybe it's binging for you or whatever. But all of this, restricting, binging, purging, over-exercising, obsession about your internal body sensations, health anxiety, all the things. This is all it is, okay? So the part two of this is that what happens is the more you do it, the more you reinforce it, the more that activity we need to continue to do, and it requires a life of its own. That over time, this becomes increasingly disruptive to our lives, to our client. It says clients functioning, but becomes disruptive to our lives. Till there's a tipping point where the greater threat to our lives are the symptoms that, from the obsessive thoughts and behaviors, that it's like the whole behavior in itself are way more damaging than the emotions or the sensations that we're trying to keep at bay. So that, my friends, is why you don't have it. It's not about willpower. It's not that you have, and again, this is why I say this, because some people are going to hear this and are going to say, like, what do you mean I'm not addicted to sugar? Is that what you're saying? And I was like, yes. We've got an autopilot process issue now, that to back out of it, when you back out of it, you're going to feel pretty emotionally cruddy and going to get mad because it's like, wait a minute, like I'm doing the right thing, but yet I feel worse. It's like, yeah, because you're not suppressing all the sensations and the emotions and the memories anymore. And you're going to want to go back to doing the thing, or you want to switch it for something else. If we don't deal with the root issue, you'll always be managing not only your survival strategies, you'll have a second layer. So it's like, now eating or not eating to suppress emotion, the part of me is rehearsing that I can't feel and I don't want to feel. And then the strategies to do that actually also cause me like disruptions in my normal life. Like I can't be normal with food. You know, I have to count, or I have to like, I can't eat what I really want because I still believe in this thought that everybody is going to reject me if I eat the food in full view, or whatever it is. Or we get a disappointment and our first reaction to disappointment isn't like, oh, I'm feeling really disappointed. That's hard to sit with. And I'm going to use, I'm going to grow my skills and talk to people about it so I can not personalize that disappointment from someone else. It's like disappointment, boom, we eat, you know, go run, you know, health doom scroll, whatever it is we do, and recognizing that's not because you lack willpower. It's because things have taken on a life of their own, and the only thing we can do is really working on setting up things before, during, and after, which we're going to talk about in the next video. Well, then how do we get out of autopilot? That's what we're going to talk about. If having more programming and just kind of telling ourselves, well, I guess this is just good as it get, I'll be on a program for the rest of my life. It's like, or we can get to the root of these issues and learn how to increase our window of tolerance, learn how to value getting our own needs met. And this is where you put your will in order, right? This is where you put your will in action. It's like, it's not an option to ignore my needs anymore. My lived experience, it's not an option to do that anymore. That's wrong. It recapitulates the neglect, not doing it. And that's where you put your action, you know, in place. So we'll talk more about that in the next video. So thank you so much for those who watch this live or on the replay. Again, I'm going to reassure you that this is not diminishing anybody's lived experience. If I would have known my eating was about, one, deprivation of enough food throughout the day, and deprivation of care. I treated myself really poorly because I felt like I deserved it. I didn't deserve to like maybe have good friends and good things happen and people to care about like my experience, or really, truly, you know, I didn't really have any safety ever in relationship of like, wow, somebody really fully is cool with how I am. I didn't have that, so I didn't know how to give it to myself, and I had to learn these things to be able not really, literally to have a food issue anymore. So we're going to talk more about that in Wednesday's video, or Wednesday or Thursday, whenever I do it. But until then, be thinking about this. Be thinking about the function. You know, what would it be like, you know, after you've explored the function of the autopilot? You know, what would it be like if you didn't talk to yourself that way? If you actually talk to yourself in a way that when those big emotions show, if you don't restrict, if you don't binge, if you don't health doom scroll, if you don't count, if you don't whatever, if you don't talk negatively about your body, if you didn't do that, what do you think you would feel, and then what? Just let's be curious about that. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.